Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful friends. I'm going to make sure I record this just in case. How's everybody doing? Happy 2026. Absolutely brilliant to be here with you. And I think I've got a fun, really pertinent, kind of sobering topic to bring to our attention today. And I've got a couple of videos coming out I'm really excited to share with you guys in terms of the world that we are in and continuing to move into as we are going to head into 2026. If you didn't have the opportunity yesterday to check out the video that I did about Pluto in Aquarius, I did a lot of talking about that. There's going to be a lot of central theme, particularly as we are going back over being in these first 4 or 5 degrees of Pluto and Aquarius. Check that video out. I'll make sure I put it at the end. And I'm also going to upload a new video about astrology and AI. And I think it is important that we talk about that without getting too into the weeds, but we have to look at what is also happening in the world without becoming a full mundane channel. So we will talk about that. I will have those videos out for you. I just want to say Happy New Year. And I see some people coming into the chat. It's really lovely to be here with you and to have the opportunity to do some live conversation. Now, this conversation again, it's going to be something that I want to talk about because we've already seen a bit of this energy start to happen, and I want to share some personal experiences with you as well. Because the energy and this battle for our own consciousness will get louder, particularly as we head towards April of 2026, July of 2026. If you've listened to your yearly horoscopes, is really very, very busy. And then August of 2026 we'll have our next really big change of energy. So there's plenty going on, nothing to be afraid of, and humans have continued to survive being out in all of the changes in the world the entire time we've been around. So I have good hope for absolutely all of us. But before we do get into the astrology and we really talk about the planets and the timelines and the predictions and all of this other stuff, I want to be very clear as to why I wanted to come and do this live today and why I wanted to do it, in this particular way. And it isn't a hype forecast. We're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see best 2026 ever, worst 2026 ever, any of that kind of stuff. You have your list of dates and times and all of that. And certainly this video is not meant to be in the fear mongering because I'm not interested in that at all. But it is like a context, a context setting conversation because what's coming into the collective that I think we started to see, but now we need to actually be consciously aware of. It's not going to just affect the collective. It will trickle into our homes and it's going to affect how each of us live our everyday lives. And I am specifically talking about how we think, how we perceive reality, how we relate to one another, and how we make decisions when the world feels like it is moving really fast and it is going to be moving really fast. So I'm talking about the mental, the emotional, the psychological pressure that we have seen is already here, particularly when we felt our outer planets get into their positions of fire and air, right? Now we're coming back as we get to the end of January and pushing forward to having that intensity come back on. And that's not in an abstract way, but it's going to be the ways that are going to be all around us. It's going to show up in your inbox. It's going to show up in our family situations. It's going to show up in our nervous system, which again, I'm going to continue to extend the invitation into the Venus Reset program for you because a massive piece of surviving this year with any kind of sanity intact is being able to, first of all, come back and be embodied and to have a nervous system that can hold duality and complexity. It's going to be the ability to actually navigate the truth of your relationships and have a sense of what you value and what is real. Now, I've been an astrologer not for as long as some of my friends, and certainly not my teacher. I just got my newsletter from my teacher, Stephen Forrest. And it's just absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you follow his work or not. And he's been an astrologer for a very long time. I haven't, but I have been doing this for about 14 years now. And so I can say this and tell you that I don't take it lightly. That 2026, as I see it, and I teach astrology here with you guys, it's really not just about the events. It's going to be about the ever presence of your consciousness, right? It's about how quickly a belief becomes a behavior, how a perception is going to shape an entire reality, how easy it's going to be this year for many to really lose ourselves because we're not grounded, right? And I'm seeing this already. I'm seeing this already. This is not a hypothetical video that I'm sharing with you. It's not a this is not a symbolic video either. It's just real life. Now, over the past year, particularly when we did see those planets move into the fire and air positions and we got those entry degrees happening right before all the planets went retrograde, I have received some emails that are deeply, deeply disturbing. Messages from people who are dysregulated, really disconnected, and in a space of instability, right? Messages that I want to look compassionately at another human being who has struggled, but they are very clear messages that are filled with projection. They're filled with hostility. They're filled with a ton of emotional intensity that doesn't match the situation at all. And I share that not to shame absolutely any one of us, because we all deserve compassion no matter where we are on the road, but to be honest about what's already emerging when pressure meets the fragility of a nervous system that cannot take it, right? And I'm not the only one. When things like this happen in the professional sphere, I ask my colleagues, and man, aren't we really seeing this? Okay. At the same time, I am seeing something else as well. Ideas, desires, ways of living that were once really dismissed, even by me, even by us, even in our own minds, where they were once dismissed as wrong, regressive, unhealthy. They're now being re-examined as, well, hold on, what's the truth of that? Not necessarily like a universal truth, but a personal truth, right? And that tension between what we were taught, what we stood for, what we believed, what actually brings meaning into our lives today, that is just as much a part of the story as well. So, as we're going to go a little bit further into this video, I wanted to set the stage for why 2026 in an air and fire year and is important, and one that means astrologically, spiritually, psychologically, and how we can frame what's happening, particularly with still Pluto in Aquarius, that is creating what air signs create, a split. It's a double side of the stage, right? It's that split that we see they have to work together. The personal evolution along with the collective evolution. We're going to look at where that split creates mental illness that has an opportunity to really surface or to really get a highlight on it, how distraction overloaded by information, how addiction function in an air and a fire dominated world, and why discernment, not certainty, regulation, not dysregulation, is going to be what matters most as we travel through 2026. And this matters because as we meet the year, that's going to shape how we live inside of the energies that are present. And so my intention here is not to tell you what to think. It is to help you continue to see, get oriented to the landscape of the astrology that we're in, and stay conscious while everything is getting ready to have its acceleration. Right now, we're in winter. Let's try and stay in it and enjoy. We are at the time of recording in our last night of our 13 intentions. So starting the year with a little settle down is nice, but we also want to be aware of where we're going into. Okay, let's talk about how this fire and air changes everything. And hello to everyone who is starting to show up in the chat. Thank you for being here. If you are here, please, in any video that you come to this year, please hit that like button because the algorithm does not show our tribe, our videos anymore. And I've got a whole other video coming about the astrology of that as well. So if you can hit that like button while you're here, that would be like, it would mean the world to me. Okay, when we're talking about 2026 and this fire and air year, thought becomes action really, really, really quickly. And that matters so much more than most of us, and I'm going to include myself in this, absolutely are going to realize, because fire is an element that wants action. There's an urgency, there's an instinct, there's a courage, there's a confrontation. Yes, it burns away poison and it helps us do a lot of brilliant things. That is a positive use of it if you are grounded and regulated. Air wants the realm of the mind, right? Thought, language, perception, belief system, ideology, information. This is where the air is going to be moving. So as these two elements who are wonderfully compatible with each other dominate the sky together, the world speeds up. It speeds up. We are going to speed up. Decisions are going to be happening quickly. Ideas are going to be moving straight from action to, from thought to action without that swift pause in between. Now, astrologically, just so we have our planets together, particularly if you're some of our newer tribe, I've already talked about Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is air, but we will see Neptune first and then Saturn coming back into the vibration of Aries. Neptune will travel here for 14 years. Saturn is going to travel through Aries for 2 years, but they are also going to, in that fire space, come together here in February. And the repeated activations that some of us experienced here in 2024 are going to continue throughout the year. This is not an earth-led year. It's not a water-led year. We needed to learn those things and bring them as fully as we can here into 2026, right? Because that energy slows us down. It tries to get us to ground. It asks us to feel deeply, not get on and like drive the bus, right? Instead, it's interpretation and slow and be with it, but we are moving into impulse. And typically in fire and air years, people don't just think differently, they act differently. A belief not only becomes action, but we become hardened with it as well and faster. Opinions become entire identities. Reaction replaces many different versions of any kind of reflection, right? And all of this is not because people, I think, are naturally unintelligent or unkind. I actually happen to believe the opposite of humanity, but it is because the pace of life outstrips our ability to metabolize what it is that we're experiencing. So again, this is where instability grows, and sometimes it grows quietly, right? When the body and the nervous system get left behind or can't handle the speed of the change, or we've left the Venus embodiment of our nervous system, of our pelvic bowl, our sacred pelvic bowl, the mind starts to fill in the gaps and all sorts of things become really seductive. Certainty becomes seductive, right? Absolute things that feel like absolutes start to feel more comforting, and complexity and uncertainty will feel like absolute threats. They will feel like it if we are dysregulated. So, as visionary as fire and air can be, and I think we're going to see that brilliance all year long. I think we're going to see liberation from all sorts of things when we use it, consciously. But we are going to see ourselves or people in our lives or systems that are without grounding, and the attention is going to scatter, relationships will fragment, the exhaustion of the psyche will become available. And we have to have that conversation out loud, right? Because we're not just over here trying to feel nice and find Venus. Listen, I want that for us, but that's not it. But 2026, I don't think asks us or offers the ability to slow down the world. I think it asks us to lean into our earth water year lessons, come back and reground to slow ourselves down inside of this world that is going to speed up. And to pretend that the collective consciousness and the things that are happening around us is not going to impact us personally is absolutely insane. I believe we are in a global consciousness that is changing very, very quickly. So coming home to self will be really important. Now, like I said before, Pluto in Aquarius is really the long arc of this story, and continuing to reveal and unearth, particularly in the mind, old thoughts, old stories, old plans, old designs, things that were buried, things that were denied, things that were avoided. These are going to be the things that Pluto is going to show us, that not only is just humanity changing in that collective place, but it's asking us to restructure ourselves at a very fundamental level. And one of the most important things I think that is important to understand about this transit personally, is that we're just not going to move at the same speed. I know, and I've experienced, and I had a lot of conversation this year where we feel like we're needing to do multiple things at the same time, right? I'm supposed to be letting go of this and gaining this, and letting go of the generational trauma, but I'm also healing generational trauma. And what some of you may be experiencing is you feel like you're becoming quieter, particularly as you embody more, right? You're becoming more discerning. You have that sense of the internal realignment as you're coming back into the grounding. And this is the beautiful place I'm hoping to walk with you to get to, particularly while the world around you feels like it is getting louder, more extreme, more reactive. The things that are rising for your Pluto work are not less painful, but you seem to have some grounding to be able to do it. But that in and of itself, I think, also creates for humans a psychological tension. Some people are going to feel really called to align with a bunch of collective narratives that don't actually fit their lives and their value systems anymore, right? Simply because those narratives offer the certainty of a sense of belonging. Other people on many topics are going to feel isolated for not participating loudly enough, right? There's a bit of finding our way in this for sure. Either way, for all of us, Pluto, I think, is going to expose where we have outsourced our own authority, whether it be to a system, to a movement, to an ideology, to technology, to our old versions of ourselves, instead of cultivating that grounding and that inner coherence. And astrology is right here. I mean, it's leading the charge in how we can see that this is happening, because Pluto will tell us in your life, where is this in your particular chart? Go to that house and those activities and see where the outsourcing has collapsed. And it almost feels like personal pain or personal crisis, but the pain might be real, but it's not. It's actual development. It's our psyches, our brains, our intellects realizing it can't survive on borrowed meaning anymore. So 2026, along these lines, is going to ask the hard question of, where are you thinking for yourself, or where are you being thought for? And discernment and regulation become the difference between our evolution and having fragmentation, and seeing things like, if we're already susceptible to mental illness or mental challenges in those patterns, certainly things coming up about any kind of addiction, and we all have some kind of addiction, and some are more extreme than the others, right? So, I want to expand here for just a second because this is something that has occurred to me in conversations I was having with other people, astrologers and non-astrologers, and I would really love to know what your experience is so far. And I want to speak honestly, but lovingly, of course, about where the mental health state I think is going to find itself, particularly as we get to summertime moving forward into 2026, because it's not that mental illness of whatever variety I think appears out of nowhere or anything like that. But I think what we're going to see are months where if there's been like this inability to create the embodied stability, the speed and the pressure and the overstimulation, heavy air years strain the mind. Heavy fire years strain the impulse control, and together they create an environment where if you are already struggling with a mental health challenge, with an addiction challenge, losing the capacity to regulate perception, emotion, and behavior become really, really real. And that is not, again, because people are bad people or because they're broken. It's because the system is overwhelmed, right? So, particularly if you know in your life or in the lives of people around you, particularly in your life, that you struggle in this way, in some way, where can you move to the embodiment? Where can you use the astrology to come to where the helpers are if you're struggling on one end of the evolution of experiencing a particular planet? Because all planets in signs have their poles, right? Absolutely, just like they have their degrees. So if you're struggling with one, where's a helper planet that can bring you back? When the mind is oversaturated, we've got to be in the embodied, right? And I told you, I've seen some emails this year loaded with hostility, paranoia. It's been absolutely surprising and not surprising at the same time. I want to share something else with you that I thought was kind of interesting. Two things, really. Thank you for being here. It's lovely to see you guys in the chat down there. Hello, Happy New Year. Two things. So one is on the front of addiction. And talked about this last year. Distraction is an addiction, right? Because an addiction does not need to look like a substance. It is whatever I am using to try to fill that hole in the soul and make myself feel comfortable. Endless amounts of scrolling, constant information consumption, um, being productive but not really being present, emotional outrage, spiritual bypassing, anything that keeps me from being and sitting still long enough to have to feel and deal with uncertainty is going to jump in here. And of course, because it's an air year, an air addiction is going to feed the mind while starving the body. A fire is going to add urgency, that sense of I have to respond to this right now. But most things are not going to do it. It's not going to do it. So we really are going to be tasked with um, looking at our own, for every single one of us, inabilities to tolerate stillness in our own beings, right? Whatever the addiction happens to be, right? Oh my gosh, let me tell you, like, if I really truly like want to have a numb out moment, and even though it looks like it's harmless, it's really not. I can absolutely find the scroll, but the scrolls that I like are very Taurian, right? Like I can watch the food scrolls where I'm like learning to cook every recipe ever. Do you know how many fake cookbooks I have ready in my head? Oh my God. And it's really, I had to realize I was like, ah, this is what I'm doing because I feel uncertain. I have a journal full last year of seeing where are my uncertainty spaces and behaviors that are showing up. And noise can become the kind of anesthesia that we're looking for or we're using to numb out. So 2026, besides all the year of authenticity and all these beautiful things, I think is also a year of sobriety. And it's sobriety in the greatest abstinence kind of sense. It's going to be clarity. It's going to be choosing to be present with the uncertainty in our bodies, regulated over the stimulation of not feeling it. It's reducing interference so that we can hear ourselves think and feel the astrology move through our bodies, through our chest, through our feet, right? People who thrive this year are going to be the ones who are not necessarily the loudest, I think, because they're going to be clear on talking about only things that they want to talk about. Okay, I had this other real epiphany the other day watching, I was watching this interview. This place where what we used to call or we used to think of, again, even personally, as like mental illness may become truth. Let me explain that. Every major shift in consciousness brings about reevaluation. There's some kind of reevaluation, right? Like once things were dismissed as a weakness or conditioning, sometimes we get older, we get into a different experience, and they are revealed as being an authentic truth for us. Not for everybody. Sometimes it's for everybody, sometimes globally, right? We learn when you're like pregnant, smoking has an impact. We've learned that globally, right? You do what you will with it, but we have learned that. There's some information there. But sometimes it's just what I thought was right. Right? I thought, oh my God, those people are like in a cult over there. And it becomes truth. So I was recently watching this interview with this woman, lovely woman, who spoke really honestly. The question was, what makes you truly happy in your life, right? As an adult woman, what makes you truly happy? No performance, presence, what makes you happy? And what she said was simple. She loves being with her family. She loves taking care of those kids and her husband, and she finds deep fulfillment there, right? And she said it and was quiet and then got these tears in her eyes. And she said, it's the truth for me. And I still have this resistance to this truth because for years, for me, I believed that women who chose that life were oppressed and absolutely betraying themselves. So at one time, even for her, this realization looked like absolute regression or internalized conditioning, right? Or something that needed to be fixed and people needed to be saved from. And yet, as her life went on and she found herself in different circumstances that she chose, she's like, this is not a mental illness. This isn't something, it's not what I thought it was. Because the honesty for me today is that this is truly where I find joy. And she said, and I don't think that's what's right for everybody, right? But it was interesting to watch that. And so I see in 2026, it's going to confront each of us with moments like this, where the certainty of what we believed about a particular thing, a particular person, a particular situation, the identity comes loose a little bit, and we get a little bit more honesty around what's right and true for us, where meaning will be found in places that we even once rejected, right? That doesn't mean that everything becomes relative. It means that we are going to learn to work quickly with some complexity. And to do that, we have to be able to be embodied and we have to be able to tell the truth because Pluto in Aquarius will dismantle ideologies, particularly the ideology of certainty. And that can feel massively disorienting or liberating, as the case may be in your journey with that. And also depending on how tightly we are holding on to something. Like I've had some things in my life where I look back and you can see the claw marks into how much I was like holding on to that particular thing. And I can share with you guys in my life, my husband and I got to a point as we were both growing, we both hit a massive growth spurt, and we looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, is this the end of us being married. Like, is this is it? And what we both realized is that we were thinking with old thinking. We were like, you're either just going to be married or you're just being divorced. That's it. What we didn't really conceptualize in terms of us needing to do it is that you are allowed to die off and end a version of a marriage and let it be born as something else as each version of us has died off, right? And this is a very big concept because I'm gonna tell you what, for both of us, and we're both Pluto and Libra babies, we were like, you're either married or you're not. Like that was it, that's black and white, and we would have missed out on the deliciousness of dying off quite painfully to ourselves and what we have today, right? But this year, as we're working with this fire and this air, acting without destroying your life is an option, right? Because it's still going to be a year of action, of courage, of change, and we're going to get to take this on brilliantly. But unconscious fire just destroys what it is meant to illuminate. Conscious fire pulls the poison away. It burns down what's not needed anymore, and it builds futures. It makes space to build a future on that earth, right? This is not the year, friends, to just act simply because you thought of something or something feels urgent, right? It's the year to act because something is aligned. It's always the year to act because something is aligned, but the energy will be moving so quickly. And I can promise you, many people are going to make irreversible decisions from dysregulated states this year, leaving relationships, burning bridges, abandoning stability, believing that they are being authentic when they are really fleeing discomfort, right? So before any major decision here in 2026, I would invite that the real question is not, is this exciting? It's, can I, with faith, with courage, in an embodied and informed, not afraid, dysregulated way, live with the long-term consequences of this particular choice? That kind of fire serves your evolution and will feel much more steady, even when it's bold, right? This is Aries energy. So even when it's bold, and as Jupiter even comes along to help us, it'll be Leo, it'll be bold. But it is a much more it's a much more embodied fire. Okay, friends, listen, this has been a lot, and we're going to see it. We're going to be in it. We're going to experience it. And I'm sending a massive amount of love to absolutely all of us in the different situations that we're going to be put in. And we have already, with some of these, seen it. Go back into 2025 as Saturn and Neptune were traveling through Aries in these first degrees. What were you experiencing? And where it was like, I have to actually step up and be that person, or I have to actually step up and step out and hold that vibration. And could your body hold the vibration? And could your nervous system hold receiving, hold standing up and behaving as the person that you were saying that you wanted to be? What situations came into your life where you're like, whoa, that scared the holy bejesus out of me? Or I'm still afraid, I'm still frightened, right? What decisions did you make at that time that maybe they're not even fully finished right now? And it's almost like the universe giving you an opportunity to say, hold on, uh, is that really the decision that you want to make, right? Like we have an opportunity to walk and use every month and all of the astrology to assist us. But I again do encourage you to jump into the Venus Reset program. And my goodness, I'm very excited to share with you that the Venus Reset program and a beautiful retreat is going to be coming live, because a lot of the contact of being in contact with you guys this year, I really want to be as in person as possible. So myself and the beautiful Georgia Pecoria are going to be coming to you live with a retreat that'll be on the way. So I can't wait to have that. But I just want to also close this by saying that I don't think that 2026 is going to ask us to disengage from the world at all. It's not, but it is going to ask us to stay sane inside of it. And the way to do that is to remain embodied, or to continue to become embodied while everything is accelerating. So we're not going to see that Neptune move into Aries until we get to the end of the month. So at this time, pausing to remain discerning while narratives and information multiply out there, to remain compassionate without abandoning the truth of what's going on in front of you. You know, to understand that sometimes what feels like madness is just a pressure to try to get us to move. Sometimes what feels like an awakening is really a fragmentation, and so we're not sorted on it just yet. And sometimes what looks like an old idea becoming true and valid for you is really just adaptation. It's not choosing sides this year. It's just about choosing to stay as conscious and work on the lessons that each of us needs to, um, right here where we're at. So I hope this makes a little bit of sense. I really do hope that it brings a bit of context to the things that we are going to see. And I know that on this channel, I move a lot in the space of helping you build and grow a life with astrology that feels like your best life. It's very accountable astrology. I try to bring you the position of empowerment, even when the aspects are hard. But there is going to be, as we get going here, a bigger shift of energy. And I want us to all be like, yes, we are aware. We're not just over here being like, just do Venus because it's fun and it's easy. Because if it's some of the easy things this year will just be easy because we don't want to do the hard, right? But being embodied, that's where the good stuff is at. All right. Hello to absolutely everybody in the chat. Thank you again for showing up and sticking around. If you're one of our friends that is watching back after this live is over, please leave us in a comment section, in the comment section down below so that we know that you were here. Share this video. Um, if share this video if you feel like it is valuable. Share the video if you feel like it's valuable. If not, don't share the video. And let's turn down all the crazy noise because there's a lot we're going to have to learn this year. Don't take up the airwaves with something that is not important, right? Whoever's in your perception zone, whoever you're listening to, they have your attention. So share it if it's valuable to you. I love you a ton. I've got another video coming. I'm really excited to share with you what I have learned and what I'm continuing to learn about AI and some things that I see are coming. And that'll be in the next video. Okay, everybody, have a happy, happy,